What if I told you there's a hidden entity more powerful than God and the devil? In a mysterious text called The Seven Sermons to the Dead, there's a line that shouldn't exist. It says, Abraxas standeth above God and above the devil. Yeah, above both. And that single sentence destroys the entire good versus evil story and breaks traditional religion. So what the hell is Abraxas? Well, this name doesn't belong to one religion. It doesn't stay in one century, and it doesn't behave like a normal god at all. It appears in banned Gnostic texts, carved into ancient amulets, written in old books of magic, sometimes called a god, sometimes a demon, and then it shows up somewhere you'd never guess. Psychology. Not as belief, but as something people encounter when you go deep inside your mind. And if that's true, then the real question isn't what Abraxas is, it's what happens to you when you realize it exists. See, what if the entire God versus devil, good versus evil story is a lie to distract you? What if this whole damn framework exists to keep you from noticing the real truth? A dangerous truth that's hidden behind them both. Would you want to know that truth? Well, you better decide now, because we're about to find out. My name is Morgue. I'm an ex-Christian nationalist, blowing the lid off hidden knowledge to wake the world the hell up and make higher consciousness go viral. And today we're exploring one of the most mysterious entities in history, a being above God and the devil, Abraxas. So let me introduce you to one of the strangest texts you've probably never heard of. It's called The Seven Sermons to the Dead. And if that already sounds like a title of a horror movie, get ready for the opening line, because it reads, The dead came back from Jerusalem, where they found not what they sought. They prayed me let them in, and besought my word, and thus I began my teaching. All right, hold on, what? The dead came back.
Stop doing that. We're not that kind of dead.
I heard there's a guy out there teaching about a god above God and the devil.
Well, can't be worse than Jerusalem.
Already this sounds like The Walking Dead, but with theology majors instead of zombies. But these aren't brain-eating corpses. These are the spiritually dead. And note something important. It says they came from Jerusalem, which is supposed to be the holy city.
So we died, traveled across reality, and went to the holiest city on earth.
And all we found was priests arguing about haircuts and food rules.
Let's go ask the heretics.
Yeah, at least they sound interesting.
The spiritual HQ, the place where God supposedly lives. But this book says they didn't find what they were looking for there. And they came back like, yeah, so that was a waste of time. So now they're pissed, and they're asking to be taught the real truth. They want something that actually explains existence. And so who do they want to be taught by exactly? The same guy that's the supposed author of this book, a guy named Basilides. And what he says should make you sit back and go, what the f did I just hear? He says, this is a God whom ye knew not, for mankind forgot it. We name it by its name, Abraxas. It is more indefinite still than God and devil. In other words, a secret God exists, a God that you forgot. Something was here, then it was lost. And then the text says something that should stop you cold if you were raised on the God versus the devil story like me. Most people grow up with it, thinking reality works like some kind of cosmic football match. God up here, devil down there, good on one side, evil on the other. Pick a team, follow the rules, buy the merch, and a story.
Everyone here must choose a side. But there's a third option!
Wait, the whole game was a trick?
So what does it even mean to be more indefinite than God and the devil? It means Abraxas doesn't sit on either side. He's above it all.
Readings are climbing.
Something's moving near the altar.
Did you hear that?
Excuse me, quick question. Is Abraxas above God and the devil, or is that metaphorical?
Bro, the ghost wants a theology debate.
Higher than the concepts of good and evil. That's what indefinite means. Not like vague or fuzzy, but uncontained. Abraxas is like, don't label me, man. I don't fit into any of that. Are you starting to see why this god was considered so dangerous? But why was this the god that mankind forgot? Well, first we have to understand a little something about the author. Who the hell is Basilides? Well, the original Basilides wasn't some random mystic. He was a 2nd century Gnostic teacher, which is ancient church code for a heretic we really don't like. His followers, the Basilidians, taught that reality was layered, that there were 365 layers, or heavens. And ruling over all these 365 heavens wasn't Yahweh, not the God of the Bible, it was Abraxas.
Tonight we're summoning the being above God and the devil. Okay, that's not what I expected. It's gonna make a great thumbnail though.
In fact, the Basilidians believed Yahweh wasn't even a god, but just a lesser angel. And here's where the math gets creepy. In his book Adversus Hereses, or Against Heresies, Irenaeus writes that the Basilidians believed that their chief is Abraxas, and for this reason he contains within himself 365 numbers. Okay, what the hell does that even mean? Is Abraxas walking around like some kind of cosmic Excel spreadsheet? Not exactly. See, the name Abraxas itself, it's a secret code. See, in ancient Greek, each letter had a numerical value. And if you add up the numbers to the Greek equivalent to Abraxas, guess what you get? 365. One for every day of the year. Not only that, but some traditions taught that there were 365 parts to the human body. But wait, there's more! Abraxas also has exactly 7 letters in its name, which corresponds to the 7 days of the week and the 7 classical planets.
Chad, did you see that? It says Abraxas! Okay, which one of you ghosts is into Gnosticism?
Please continue the lecture.
This guy wasn't just ruling the heavens, he was in charge of the planets too. Abraxas had dominion over the entire celestial order, from the heavens to the planets, years, days, even the human body. The whole cosmos was coded into one badass name. Archaeologists have even found gemstones engraved with Abraxas's image and name, and they were used as like protective amulets or charms.
Protective amulet! God above God and the devil!
Why does it have a rooster head?
It's about waking people up!
It looks dumb.
Shut up! You look dumb!
Take a look at one of these typical Abraxas gems. So just wait, what the hell is that thing anyway? It's got the head of a rooster, the body of a man, and legs formed by 2 snakes? It's got a whip in its hand and a shield. Well, this is not random chaos. Every part is deliberate and meaningful because the rooster head signifies awakening. The rooster announces the dawn. It's the herald of the light. It wakes people up whether they want to wake up or not.
I can't see a thing.
So Abraxas is associated with illumination, not like this comforting soft light, but disruptive awakening, the kind that interrupts sleep.
Is that a chicken?
No, it's a cosmic symbol of awakening.
I preferred the old gods.
Then you have the 2 arms holding a whip and a shield. These have been associated with Dynamis and Sophia, meaning power and wisdom. Now look at the legs. These serpents, they represent nous and logos, meaning mind and reason, the very faculties that support us. And at the same time though, the serpents, well, they're earthbound creatures, and they symbolize our connection to the material world. So Abraxas isn't floating above existence, it's also grounded in it. Mind and matter intertwined.
So apparently there's a god above God, and Satan, also, he's a rooster with snake legs. Religion just unlocked a new boss level.
And then there's this human torso that suggests something very radical here. All of these forces are meant to be realized in humanity, in you and me. The image is just absolutely saturated with duality as well. Animal and human, offense and defense, mind and matter, heaven and hell. But here's where everything snaps. See, Basilides, the supposed author of the 7 Sermons to the Dead, he was alive during the 2nd century. But the 7 Sermons to the Dead was written in 1916. So unless Basilides is some kind of goddamn time traveler or a zombie himself, we got a problem. And that's when this story goes from ancient heresy to psychological thriller.
Abraxas.
The book itself drops us a massive hint at what's going on. See, at the very end of the book, it reveals a mysterious set of letters, a literal secret code that looks like this. Now, yes, I know it looks like someone's cat fell asleep on a keyboard, but it's not random. This is actually an anagram written in German with some older Latinized letter choices. So if you rearrange the letters and translate it, what do you get? Carl Gustav Jung in Kusnacht, year 1916. The mask drops. This wasn't actually written by Basilides at all, but who it was written by? That's way crazier. It was written by Carl freaking Jung, the Swiss psychologist. You know, the guy who coined introvert and extrovert, the guy who mapped out the unconscious, who told you that your shadow exists and you should probably deal with it before it f***s up your life. Yeah, that Jung. So let's recap here. One of the most respected psychologists in history secretly writes a mystical Gnostic text about a god above God and the devil, and then authors it under the name of a 2nd century heretic, then encodes his own name at the end of the book like he's the freaking Zodiac killer of theology. And then what? He doesn't publish it. No, he prints it, but privately. He never sells it. He never markets it. He just hands out copies quietly to students and close friends like contraband.
Today, I discovered something the church definitely did not want you to see. A god above God and the devil? And apparently it's a rooster with snake legs. This is not clickbait, chat, I swear.
And here's the part that makes this even more intense. He wrote this during a period in his life when he was having visions so powerful, he thought he might be literally losing his mind. So this should immediately make you ask, what is so dangerous about this book that Jung wanted to keep it away from the public? What did the dead want to know so badly? And why does the answer start with Abraxas? Because once you understand what Abraxas actually is, you understand why Jung didn't want this on a bookstore shelf. Let's go back to the 7 Sermons to the Dead and see what Jung, writing as Basilides, says next. That God may be distinguished from it, we name God Helios, or sun. Okay, so this is Jung, aka Basilides, basically telling the dead, all right, time out. Before we go even further, the word God is a hell of a mess. We use it for everything. So he's basically saying from now on, we need better labels. Think about it. If Abraxas is a god above God and the devil, that can get kind of confusing, right? So Basilides basically says from now on, we're gonna call God the sun, which makes sense because it's associated with light, clarity, order, and growth, and life, which immediately tells you something important. God is not the whole system. God is a pole. If reality has poles or sides, light and dark, then God is the light pole or light side. And so what's the opposite of that? The devil, darkness, dissolution, entropy, decay, the shadow side.
Where light and shadow meet.
So the text is saying that God and the devil are 2 sides of one system, 2 halves of one whole, one light, one dark. And to try and make things more clear, the God half, well, that's going to be called the sun. This is why he says, Abraxas standeth above the sun, God, and above the devil. So if the sun god and the devil are like the light and dark sides of the yin and yang, well then Abraxas is the whole symbol itself, the entire system. Think of reality like a battery. The sun god is the positive side, the devil is the negative side. But energy only flows because there's tension between the poles. Try building a battery with only a positive terminal. Congrats, you just built a paperweight.
I represent divine light and goodness.
And I represent darkness and chaos. Are we a cosmic battery?
Yes. Please continue arguing. It keeps the universe running.
Abraxas isn't the positive side or the negative side. Abraxas is the whole damn battery. Then Jung, as Basilides, drops this line, and if you're not paying attention, it sounds like mystical nonsense. Had the pleroma a being, Abraxas would be its manifestation. All right, well, let's translate this into plain human language. Pleroma literally means fullness. So it means totality. The text is saying if totality expressed itself as a being, it would be Abraxas.
God is the light pole, the devil is the dark pole, and Abraxas is the entire system.
So the universe runs on cosmic drama?
Exactly.
So Abraxas isn't the pleroma per se. Abraxas is the moment the pleroma wakes up and does something. Now, if you've seen my other videos, you might be wondering, where does the monad or the one fit into all this? Well, the one is the source of all reality. Everything unfolds from it. Abraxas, in that framework, in the neogenian interpretation, Abraxas is what happens when the one becomes aware of itself through polarity. Abraxas is the source waking up inside division and integrating it. Think of the one as the dreamer generating the dream, and Abraxas is what happens when the dream becomes lucid. The dream doesn't stop, it doesn't vanish, the monsters don't disappear, the light and the darkness are still there. But suddenly the character inside the dream realizes, I'm both sides of this. Those monsters, they're a part of me. That's why Jung says Abraxas would be the manifestation of the pleroma, but then immediately says it is also creatura because it is distinct from the pleroma. Creatura means created thing. So this means that Abraxas isn't just some transcendent being apart from creation. He's in creation as well as creation. He's the material, the earthly. Remember, he's associated with the 365 heavens and the 365 days of the year, both heaven and earth combined.
Okay, I've got questions. You made a universe with billions of stars, but we live in a fruit park with one rule?
Stop asking questions.
That seems suspicious.
This is not an escape the world spirituality. This is wake up inside the world spirituality. Now remember, in the 7 Sermons to the Dead, Basilides, Jung in disguise, is telling all this to the dead, who are looking for knowledge, as you do when you're dead.
Tell us of gods and devils! Accursed one! Yes! Give us the simple version!
You mean the version where you don't have to think?
Duh! Give!
Well, the text finally tells you exactly who they are. The dead now raised a great tumult, for they were Christians. Yeah, you heard that right. The dead are Christians. The people who thought they already had the truth, and now they're dead.
So we died thinking we had the ultimate truth.
And now there's apparently a god above our god.
God damn it, Bob. I knew we should have read the banned books.
Not physically, spiritually, which is absolutely savage, because the text is basically saying Christianity is one big graveyard where truth goes to die.
This is it. The final boss?
Looks peaceful enough. Wait, what's that?
Oh, bones. Guess Christianity wasn't the final boss after all.
But first, I want you to realize this is way more than a channel. We are a revolution of consciousness, literally making what they tried to bury go viral and reach millions. So hit like and subscribe. Share this video to spread it like fire. We are making higher consciousness go viral. If you want to help out even more, become a member for free downloads on inner transformation, alchemy, Kabbalah, and get access to members only videos like this one called The Secret Name of Jesus That Changes Everything. Also, check out my books. Links are in the description of this video. So the text continues to describe these spiritually dead Christians like this, like mists arising from the marsh. The dead came near and cried, "Speak further unto us concerning the supreme God."
Good and evil come from the same source? That's not what we were taught!
Give us the villain again!
You started worshiping the villain.
Yeah, they don't want sermons or shitty worship music. And they sure as hell don't want just have faith and stop asking questions. They're asking for the supreme God. Not their God, not the God they were taught, the one above the whole damn mess. So the dead, they're crowding closer now, they're restless, they're agitated, and they're wondering why they don't know about this supreme God. Okay, well, Jung, writing as Basilides, of course, explains to them exactly why. Hard to know is the deity of Abraxas. Its power is the greatest, because man perceiveth it not. So Abraxas doesn't hide in the shadows, it hides in plain sight, as the unity of opposites. But guess what? Humans are terrible at seeing that, because humans, all they do is see opposites.
Today we're connecting to love and light. It says good and evil come from the same source. Well, that complicates my brand.
They categorize things as this or that, light or dark, good or evil, God or devil, left or right, my team or your team. Pick one, root for it, fight for it. That's why humans can't find Abraxas, because Abraxas is everything. So the text explains what Abraxas actually does. From the sun, God, he draweth the summum bonum, highest good. From the devil, the infimum malum, lowest evil. See, Abraxas doesn't pick a side. It extracts both. It's the whole spectrum. That's why the text says Abraxas is the mother of good and evil. Mother as in the generator. Good and evil aren't enemies in some cosmic boxing match. They're siblings. And Abraxas is the womb that gives birth to them both. That alone is enough to ruin most people's day. You might be thinking, what the f***? Does that mean we're supposed to be evil? No. Of course not. We'll get to that. But first, the text continues. Abraxas is the sun, God, and at the same time, the eternally sucking gorge of the void and the belittling and dismembering devil. Abraxas is both creation and destruction. The text clarifies further why people can't see Abraxas. The power of Abraxas is twofold, but ye see it not, because for your eyes, the warring opposites of this power are extinguished. I mean, we already saw that. Humans normally perceive reality by splitting it. This good, this bad. This is sacred, this is profane. That God, that devil. But if you do that, you miss the power of Abraxas. If you label something as purely evil, you blind yourself to its creative force. If you label something as purely good, well, you blind yourself to its destructive shadow. For example, if you label anger as purely evil, you miss the power of anger to fuel the fight for justice, for example. If you label love as purely good, you could end up getting walked all over as people take advantage of you. This is where Jung stops being subtle and just kicks the damn door in. What the God's Son speaketh is life, what the devil speaketh is death. All right, there you have it right there. Two basic forces at work, life and death.
Abraxas creates both life and death, and truth and lies. I preferred simpler religions.
Yes. Most people do.
Life here means building and sustaining a form, while death means dissolving or ending a form. But death is needed because nothing new can exist if nothing ends.
One rises. Another falls. Stone by stone, breath by breath, the balance endures.
Structures, beliefs, identities, and habits, they don't just peacefully step aside, they have to be broken down when they stop serving life. See, death actually makes room for life. Life and death need each other, which is why the text immediately says, "But Abraxas speaketh that hallowed and accursed word, which is life and death at the same time." Abraxas is not here to comfort you. Abraxas isn't here to whisper positive affirmations. Abraxas is here to create the conditions for you to grow. If you want transformation, something in you has to die. The text goes on to make it crystal clear. Abraxas begetteth truth and lying, good and evil, light and darkness in the same word and in the same act. Wherefore is Abraxas terrible. See, typically we separate things so that we can feel safe and comfortable, but Abraxas destroys all that. Abraxas shows that reality generates both sides together. Before we label one as acceptable and the other as forbidden, Abraxas is called terrible because it removes the comfort that we've built for ourselves as humans. You're forced to see what reality is for what it really is. Think about this. Fire cooks food and keeps people warm. That same fire burns down homes. Think about truth and lying. We tend to label one as good and the other as evil, right? But that's totally oversimplifying things. If you tell the truth about something, that truth can set you free, which seems good. But if that same truth deeply hurts someone or destroys a relationship, in that sense, it also seems bad. Think about revolution. A system is overthrown. Freedom increases for many, but chaos, suffering, death, destruction, all took place to get there.
Anger is evil. Then why does anger start revolutions? And why does love start half the wars? Shit, you're right. Maybe this is more complicated than I thought.
Abraxas forces you to see what we normally try to avoid. Abraxas is called terrible because it forces you to face reality and yourself as it really is. Not as a simplified, cute little moral story you can tell yourself so you can sleep at night. And then, as you might expect, in the story, the dead absolutely lose their minds. Because what Basilides just said to them is not comforting. It doesn't give them a side, it doesn't give them a villain, it doesn't give them a cosmic scoreboard where they can chant, "We're number one!" So what happens? Now the dead howled and raged, for they were unperfected. Yeah, they're melting down worse than Elon Musk tweeting at 3 a.m. on a ketamine binge. Why? Because they're unperfected. Not evil or sinful, but unfinished. In Gnosticism, those that achieve gnosis, meaning true knowledge, they're called the perfect ones. Perfect as in complete. The spiritually dead, they wanted a cosmic referee to point and say, "That's the bad guy, go boo him."
So good and evil come from the same source? Mm-hmm.
Ugh, this is way more complicated than church.
Yeah, but at least it's honest. Plus, this God doesn't ask us for money.
But Basilides just told them that the bad guy and the good guy come from the same place. And of course they're pissed. And it gets even more dramatic. The dead filled the place murmuring and said, "Tell us of gods and devils, accursed one." Yeah, they don't want to talk about Abraxas anymore. They want to go back to what's safe. Give us the simple version again. Give us the binary. Give us the teams, the jerseys.
I am the ultimate ruler of reality.
You two still doing the good cop, bad cop routine? Adorable.
And they call him accursed because when someone destabilizes your way of thinking, your first instinct isn't to be curious about it, it's to attack. See, most people identify so much with their beliefs that it becomes who they are. And so they see anything that goes against what they believe to be a direct threat to their self, so they go into attack mode. But Basilides responds calmly and detonates the bomb even further. The God's son is the highest good. The devil is the opposite. Thus have ye two gods.
Teacher, who rules the universe?
Not the God you think, something above him.
You can't say that!
I just did.
Two gods. Not one god and one enemy. Two gods, light and dark, creation and destruction, life and death, equal poles. And Basilides goes on to explain exactly that. God and devil are distinguished by the qualities fullness and emptiness, generation and destruction. Okay, so that's pretty simple. God means fullness, expansion, and life. The devil represents emptiness, contraction, dissolution. So here the devil isn't just a fallen angel messing shit up. He's necessary to the structure of reality. One builds, one breaks. And reality needs both. You can't have a sunrise without a sunset. You can't have growth without decay. You can't have life without death. So Basilides is basically saying, stop acting shocked that destruction exists. It's not a glitch, it's half the engine that makes everything work. Abraxas says both sides are necessary. That's why the dead are so pissed off, because they wanted salvation, and Basilides gave them integration. And integration is way damn harder. Then comes one of my favorite lines in the whole book. Each star is a god, and each space that a star filleth is a devil. This is a perfect example of what Basilides is trying to get across. God is a star outpouring light, while the devil is dark, empty space. Think about it. A star can't exist without space. If there were no emptiness, no vacuum, no darkness, there would be nowhere for the star to burn. So space isn't the enemy of the star. It's the condition that makes the star possible. That's what Basilides means by devil here. Not red guy with horns. He means the principle of negation. He goes on, the operation of the whole is Abraxas. When you zoom out and see both together, that dynamic, star and space, fullness and emptiness, that's Abraxas. The whole cosmos, the light of the star and the darkness of the space. And Basilides is basically telling the dead, you want the stars without the space. You want the fullness without the emptiness. You want creation without destruction. That's not how existence works. Sorry. That's not how physics works. That's not how psychology works. That's not even how relationships work. Abraxas is the totality of that movement. One of my favorite quotes is from the philosopher Hegel. He says, just as little is seen in pure light as in pure darkness. In other words, absolute light blinds you just like absolute darkness does. If everything is just blinding white light, you can't see. Likewise, if everything is pitch black, you also can't see. Either way, you're walking into furniture.
Pure light. Turns out that's just as useless as darkness.
So all this only light spirituality is just cosmic high beams in your face. To actually see, you need the contrast, light and dark. You need some shadow. If life were 24/7 perfect, blissful, no challenges, no pain, could you even have a meaningful experience? Without sorrow, how could you know joy? Without ignorance, would learning even mean anything? We say we want all good and no bad, but if you really had that, if you actually had it, it would be like staring at a blank white screen forever. By day 3, you'd be screaming, can please something go wrong, just so something happens.
Is anyone there?
Hegel would have absolutely loved Jung's take on Abraxas. Hegel's philosophy is very complex, but part of it was that existence is powered through a clash of opposites, and he called this process the dialectic, where a thesis, an idea, meets its antithesis, its opposite, and through their tension and clash, a synthesis arises, which is a higher level that incorporates both elements together. And if that sounds familiar, that's basically a rational take on what Jung expressed mythically with Abraxas. The thesis is God versus the devil, the antithesis, and Abraxas is the synthesis, the higher aspect that contains both within it. And after all this, stars and space, life and death, batteries and cosmic roosters, the dead finally realize something embarrassing. They've been asking about the universe. They forgot to ask about themselves.
So, we asked about the universe.
Yes. Did anyone ask about us?
Oh yeah, what the hell are we?
And so they say, there is yet one matter we forgot to mention. Teach us about man. Up until now, this has been theology, but now it's going to get personal. Because Basilides answers, man is a gateway, through which from the outer world of gods, demons, and souls ye pass into the inner world, out of the greater into the smaller world. Humanity is a gateway. That line is powerful. Think about it. Everything we've been talking about, God, devil, light, dark, star, void, doesn't just exist out there, it exists inside you. The outer world of forces, instincts, archetypes, drives, symbols is reflected in the inner world of the human psyche. And then the text drops the line that should honestly make you sit up straight. In this world is man, Abraxas, the creator and destroyer of his own world. Humanity is not ruled by Abraxas, not judged by it or anything like that. Man is Abraxas. In this world, creator and destroyer of his own world. We can see this manifest literally and physically on Earth as civilizations rise and fall. But what Jung really was talking about was that you're the creator and destroyer of your own inner world. But these two worlds, inner and outer, they intersect. Look at society. People who disown their own shadows contribute to atrocities. It's those that are convinced of their absolute righteousness that usually end up committing the worst crimes for the greater good. Whole nations have projected evil onto some other and gone to war, thinking evil is out there and they must purge it. The evil we hate outside is also inside. And when we realize that, we become much less eager to cast stones. We become more inclined to work on ourselves. The most terrifying part of Jung's Abraxas isn't that there's a god above God, it's that psychologically you are Abraxas as the operator of the polarity inside your own life. You generate your heavens, you generate your hells. The identity you cling to, you made that. The patterns you repeat, you keep them going. And when they collapse, it's because you collapse them. You are both star and space, both fullness and emptiness, both creation and destruction. And the moment you realize that, you stop waiting for salvation and you start integrating. It's not about picking God over the devil, not picking light over dark. It's about becoming conscious that you're both of them. Now you can see why Jung kept this book from the public. Ideas that blur the line between God and devil would have looked either insane or heretical. Publishing a mystical Gnostic sermon to the dead might have destroyed his career. Okay, let's get something straight before someone clips this out of context and calls me the Antichrist. When Jung talks about good and evil, and when we talk about Abraxas generating both, that does not mean, hey, you know what? Go be evil, start robbing banks and punch your grandma in the face. Relax. The words good and evil, they're loaded. So just drop those. Think instead in terms of light and dark. Light equals creation, dark equals destruction. Destruction is not the same thing as cruelty. Destruction is what makes transformation possible. Let me give you an example. You leave a toxic relationship, that feels destructive. You're breaking something, there's grief, there's pain, there's chaos. But what are you actually doing? You're clearing space, star and void. Without that destruction, there's no growth. Or take something smaller. You set a boundary. You say no. You might disappoint someone. That feels dark, but what are you destroying? An unhealthy dynamic. Without that dark action, you remain trapped. Or let's get even more uncomfortable. Your own jealousy. Instead of pretending you're morally superior and above it, you admit, I'm secure. That's dark. It hurts. It destabilizes your ego. But what are you destroying? Illusion. And what gets created afterward? Clarity. That's integration. When you refuse the darkness, it does not disappear. It just runs your life from the basement. That's what Jung meant. Not go out and be evil, but stop pretending that you don't contain destructive forces. You do. You can destroy your career. You can destroy your relationships. You can destroy your own confidence with one sentence in your head. You've probably done it before. But the question isn't, should I eliminate destruction? You can't. The question is, will I wield it consciously? Because destruction wielded consciously becomes discipline. It becomes boundary setting. It becomes saying no. It becomes cutting off what doesn't serve you. It becomes pruning a tree so that it grows stronger. But destruction, when it's denied, then it becomes self-sabotage. So when Jung talks about Abraxas being both life and death, he's not telling you to become some kind of supervillain. He's telling you to become conscious of the polarity that exists within you, whether you want to admit it or not. Light creates the life you want. Dark removes what blocks it. It's not about worshiping darkness, but you don't suppress it. You understand its function. Like space around a star, like winter before spring, like exhaling and inhaling. And this is why the dead were unperfected. They wanted a universe where only light is divine, but growth requires pruning, transformation, needs endings, evolution, requires collapse. We are the star and the abyss, the sun and the eclipse. We are reality waking up. We are Abraxas. We are that consciousness right now. And as you begin to realize that, so are you. We're not just some fan base here. We're not just a channel. We are nodes in a waking mind. Every video that cracks someone open lights up another point in the network. We are the place where reality becomes aware of itself. You're helping that happen right now. We are the star in the void, recognizing each other. We are Abraxas on Earth. And every time one of you integrates instead of divides, the cosmic mind awakens a little more. This is higher consciousness going viral. But there's so much more to this. Check out my video all about the one, the monad, the source of all reality that the church tried to burn out of existence. You need to watch it right now because it'll change the way you see everything. My name is Morgue, and I am neogenian. Ad Astra.